Group 1 winner is an achievement everyone in the sport wishes for. To do so in the infancy of your training career is what dreams are made of. For talented horseman Jack Trainor, that's exactly what happened in February this year when stylish Memphis stormed home to win the Queen Elizabeth II mile.
But here comes the champion mare, stylish Memphis, up on the outside, flashing right down the outside, a spellbound with a brilliant turn of foot, but it's stylish Memphis in front. She goes back to back.
Well, no, it's hard to imagine that they, can win 2 ladyship miles in a year or in 12 months, and yeah, she just keeps exceeding my expectations, and probably what I've learned from her, Brittany, is that she's just got that will to win, and even with a few minor hiccups during the prep, she's, nothing's always been smooth sailing, and just for her to always find that will to win on race day, yeah, just really makes me appreciate what sort of mare she is.
Jack was involved in the industry from an early age. Growing up, his parents had a number of horses in the South Island of New Zealand, and he developed a keen interest in the sport.
Yeah, so it was always probably driving. I suppose the driver sort of has a bit of a glamour and glitter on it, doesn't it? So everyone wants to be a driver when they're young, and yeah, just as I gradually grew older and older and started driving in workouts and trials, I thought that this is what I really want to do, and it probably wasn't until the later couple of years, like only up to a couple of years ago, that I thought, I wouldn't mind giving training a go, and yeah, here we are.
But it wasn't until he struck up an association with leading New Zealand trainer Fran Delgetti that things really began to take off.
I originally got onto him through Dexter. I used to help him out when he'd come to my local track at Forbury Park when I was working in the numbers room, and he used to pick me up from school and that on his way through with Cran's horses, and I'd just be happy to help him out at the races and gear them up and wash them and swab them for him. And yeah, one day he said to me, would you be interested in coming up to Christchurch in your school holidays and working in a bigger stable and getting some experience? So that was about 14 years old, so I took that, and yeah, never looked back. Like you said, Cran and Chrissy treated me like family. I used to live in the house with them. I watched the kids grow up, all grow up through their years through school as well, and yeah, it was like being one big family, and I'm always forever be grateful for what they done for me.
It's now been over 10 years since his first win as a driver.
My first winner was a horse called Hip Hop Anvil. I think he was a graded certainty that night, and I really made him earn it. I think I let him run a bit, but yeah, he turned out to be a pretty nice horse, and he went on and done a good job in America, and I think I was just lucky I got on him when he was in a low-graded race.
It's Hip Hop Anvil though for Jack Trainor. He's going to win his first race with a dashing drive and a 1.
Things were onwards and upwards from there as he made the move to Australia to further his driving career.
Yeah, it wasn't too hard. At the time I was only 19 years old and had no ties, so Cran was really supportive when I put the idea to him. That I'd heard that Lauren Tritton had just driven out her concession, and that Shane Tritton was looking for a junior driver, and at the time Shane was winning a lot of races around Newcastle. It was sort of just when he'd taken off as well, and Cran was just fully supportive when I went to it and said, you're only young once, and give it a go, and if it doesn't work out, the door's always open and you can always come back. So just knowing that you have that support to come back to at home, it really was a no-brainer for me, and yeah, I thought at worst I'm only going to gain experience and meet new friends, so yeah, I just haven't looked back since.
So you started off with Trittons. Who else have you sort of moved through the system with?
Yes, I've been very lucky to go through a lot of nice trainers over here. I went from Shane Trittons to Kevin Pizzuto's, and he gave me a real good boost, especially in the Sydney racing. He obviously had a big team at the time and was buying a lot of horses out of New Zealand, so he really helped me get my name established in Sydney. And from there I went to Blake Fitzpatrick's, who, much like Cran and Chrissy with Blake and Lisa's, I sort of felt like I was part of the family, and I was there for probably about 5 years, I think, and I think that was where I was the most happiest over here. I really just felt like, I didn't really feel like I was going to work, just felt like I was turning up and enjoying my time, and I just learnt so much off Blake, especially in the driving side of things, and again, a real credit to them as well.
A number of factors led to Jack leaving the familiarity of the Fitzpatrick stable to start out on his own, but it was a good friend who urged him to take the plunge and ultimately made it happen.
Yeah, it was. It was something that I gave a lot of thought to, Brittany. I always said, once I sort of got a little bit of a bug for the training, that I wanted to make sure I'd done it at the right time, and I just felt like, that Blake had started getting into a few gallopers and it might have slowed down the team a little bit as far as the pacing side. And I thought with obviously my good friend Jason Grimson was just starting to take off as well, and he sort of gave me a bit of a push to, that there's some spare boxes here, and why not come and join him and let's have a crack at it. So it was probably one of the things that I put the most thought into, because I really wanted to make sure when I did it, everything was in order and everything was going to go right. And I think it was the right time. I lobbed at Jason's barn with one horse and one set of hobbles. So we've come a fair way in a short amount of time. But I was just fortunate that a couple of owners just gave me a chance really quickly. And so one turned into 4 quickly. And then I thought, I'll sit on half a dozen. That would be, what I feel like doing. But next thing you know, you've got 20 horses and you're looking for more horses and more room. So yeah, it all happened really quick, but sort of come here with nothing really.
Being a Kiwi, the COVID pandemic meant being separated from friends and family for an extended period.
So I was lucky, I did get over to New Zealand for about 5 days, only about a week before the borders shut again. So otherwise it would have been about 4 years since I would have seen my friends and family. And yeah, probably like you said, it is a little bit disappointing. I would love for Mum and Dad to have been there for a few of my bigger wins or some of these carnivals, and even my grandparents, they're my #1 supporters as well. So it obviously would have been great for them to be here, but even with the way the TV and that is these days, they feel like they're not missing out on much anyway. But hopefully now with signs that things are clearing up a bit, they might be over for the next one.
Despite being away from New Zealand for over 9 years, Jack still has a strong association with the industry back home, which has been one of the key factors in his early training success.
Yeah, I am getting some really good support from New Zealand clients now, and obviously they're coming with some really nice stock as well, so it's making a big difference for me. And it's just one of those things, I suppose. People probably remember me from seeing me from being a 14-year-old kid walking around swabbing horses to watching the Menangle races and seeing us have some success. So it's a massive thing to have support from New Zealand horses and trainers, and yeah, it's definitely obviously a major part of my business now too.
The biggest night in Jack's career in the bike came back in 2021 when he was able to steer Stylish Memphis for his first Group 1 victory.
One thing looking after, and then you've got to go and put the icing on the cake and drive her properly too. But yeah, everything had just started taking off. It felt really quick just before that carnival, and I was starting to get on some really nice horses and starting to drive a lot of winners every week, and just felt like it was all meant to happen, and confidence was high. And yeah, she's just one of those mares that you can just sit on her and she knows where the line is and just has that will to win. So she made my job really easy.
She didn't have the best draw, but you must have been of the belief that if you were close enough, you were good enough. Do you remember what you were thinking at the top of the straight?
No, yeah, not a lot. She just travels so good in her runs. You just know that you're on the winner from a long way out. And yeah, that first ladyship, she was a long way off them, but the tempo was hot. And I just thought, barring bad luck with the way she'd been finishing off her races, she was going to be right in the finish. And yeah, it was definitely a feeling I wouldn't forget. I'll just be forever grateful to Wayne Higgs and Mark Jones for giving me that chance. A year ago I was only a few months into my training career, and they trusted me with possibly their best horse and a mare of her calibre. So once again, I'm just forever grateful.
And for the future?
Well, hopefully things just keep going onwards and upwards. Yeah, I think we're just getting started really. I'm still only young in the sport and still learning the ropes as I go as well, and gaining massive experience while doing it. So I'm happy with how things are now, and as long as things keep ticking over and moving forward, I'm more than happy where we're at.